ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the second episode of the Wave Dash podcast. I'm going to be your host this evening. I'm covering up one of my friends there. Everyone can remember Corrupt Arrow from last week, the GM of the Kaiju franchise. Say hello, Corrupt.
What's up, everyone? What is up?
And then we didn't get to have him last week. We weren't lucky enough. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Clutch. What is going on, brother?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Living the dream. Glad to have you back.
Hell yeah. I'm glad to be here.
So, I just want to get right into it because it was quite a weekend for Rocket League. There was a lot going on, a lot to watch. Not that I'm complaining one bit. Corrupt, why don't you tell me just your overall thoughts about what you saw this past week with the RLCS championships?
Overall, obviously, we didn't have a LAN, so, I mean, it's unfortunate, but I think just with championships, it just was a great week, great week overall. We saw some upsets, but overall, we just saw a lot of matches, and I think that this best of set type of series should be a normalized thing, because it does, I think, make sure that the better team overall will win the match, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Clutch, I know you had some fun this weekend, but I know you tried to keep up as much as you could and watch what you could. What did you think about the weekend?
Yeah, so I watched where I could, and the games were awesome. I think that NRG G2 series kind of stood out, but yeah, I totally agree. The sets, I think, were interesting in the fact that it definitely put a twist on things. And, when you get series like the G2 on our G1 or even that Solar Queso one to open things off, like that was unbelievably exciting to watch and just like see, it go the distance and to really take it all the way down to the wire to see which team is actually better. Yeah.
In my opinion, that was probably the best matchup of the EU side of the bracket. But on the NA side, we're going to go ahead and talk about one of the teams from probably the best match we saw all week. That NRG G2 match on was that Thursday or Friday? That was Friday, right?
It was
Thursday.
It was Thursday, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thursday.
It's one of the best Rocket League matches I've seen in a minute.
Yeah, an instant classic.
Yeah. G2 was just in great form all week. I mean, they put a hurting on FaZe to start the week. And then after losing in the uppers, Rogue dropped down. And it was a combination of G2 just peaking and Rogue just honestly looking like a dumpster fire right now. They just waxed them. Coasted through.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by Rogue. I was kind of hoping that they would bounce back to that, end of winter form, but it just never really came to fruition. First Killer is too good right now for that team to be not performing how they should be.
I think the biggest thing, though, about with G2 is that whole spring split, especially when they first got Drees, they were just on the up and up. Just every single regional that they would play, they would get better, besides that one regional where they did fall flat. And you just knew something special was upon the horizon whenever they took NRG to Game 6 in one of the majors. And a lot of people feel as though that, they very well should have won that series. And it just shows you the long road that G2 has had to get back up to be a solidified top 4 team in the name once again. But the throne is now back and give it to them. And hopefully they don't give it up to a team like Rogue again.
Yeah. Drees has been a great change of pace for G2. It seems like he's really enabling JNAPs in Chicago to play as free as they want in the offensive zone. What have you seen from them, Clutch?
Yeah, I mean, G2 surprised me, and then on top of that was probably the team that scared me the most. Like, coming into that final weekend when they played against NRG and being like an NRG fan for as long as I can, remember watching Rocket League, that was the team that I didn't want to face at that moment. Like, they were just peaking so hard, and Drees is just such a good addition to that team right now. He fits the role that he plays perfectly and allows just JNAPs in Chicago to do exactly what they want to do on the offensive side of the ball. So it's really exciting if you're a G2 fan right now. I think that this team, hasn't hit its peak yet because I think they're still new and gelling. So next season, they could be a team that's going to make some serious damage in NA.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a stat real quick. I wanted to see, was it the match against FaZe where Chicago popped off and had like a 1.7 rating for the series or
But
something?
that was against FaZe, but that was JNEPs. Or
Yes,
yeah,
I'm actually looking at it right now. JNAPS 1.79. Chicago was the next day then, right? Against Rogue.
Rogue. Yes, I think so. No, I think it was JNEPs again. That popped off again because he popped off
Chicago
in.
I
had
mean,
popped off
JNaps
there.
was back to his world class self, where you start going,
Yeah.
okay, JNaps
Yeah.
is a top 5 player. That's right. That's why they used to call him the knapsack. Not
Yeah.
that he ever really fell off that far. Like G2 was always kind of riding on JNaps's performances, but now with the addition of Drees, I feel like it's opened up JNaps's play once again, where you're like, oh, holy crap! Like I kind of forgot how good JNaps was.
To me, it seems like Drees is bringing a new dimension to that offense. I don't want to take anything away from Rizzo because he's one of the greatest to do it. Drees seems to have a solo play capability that teams are having to put more resources into to stop, which if you're doing that and you're taking away your defense from JNAPs in Chicago, it's not going to go great for you.
Yeah.
I think also with Drees though is it like because we all know Rizzo isn't that super mechanical person that we all know him for, but Drees is exactly that type of person, and he just opens up way more. I feel on the field than Rizzo could, and this is not saying that Rizzo wasn't good. In fact, I'm probably like only one of the only people that thinks that Rizzo could probably still provide some sort of gameplay and competitiveness to a lower end team still, or maybe even like a top 8 team. But I just think Drees overall for this specific G2 team is one of the best fits, if not the perfect fit for them with his playstyle.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's go ahead and take a look at the NA bracket here. Give me just a moment.
While you pull that up, I have the most off-topic thing of all time, but
Hit
I
me.
shot out the link to some of my teammates to see if they wanted to watch, and one of them hit me back that he is watching. I'm quoting this. He's watching midget fighting right now. Locally,
So that's
in
what
a
we're up
ring.
against.
Yes, that is the competition that we have right now.
We don't stand a chance.
That is one of the most interesting things I've ever heard somebody is going to go watch right now, like in person.
Clutch
What's
got a
up, dear?
fanboy.
Hell yeah. Here's my
I mean, I don't-
boy.
Hell yeah. But so here we got the NA bracket at the start of the week. Now, Clutch, we didn't really get to hear your predictions last week. What were your thoughts going into the week as far as how you thought this bracket might turn out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm through and through a NRG fanboy, which I think I've made clear to a lot of people in some of the esports channels who do know me.
Here he goes again.
Yeah, but as far as how I thought the bracket was going to shape out, I think I actually had G2 making it over to NRG on my pick stop. If I check right now, actually, I can look that up and confirm that. But yeah, I had G2 go. Yeah, so I had G2 going through. I had Rogue falling down to the lowers, had SSG making it to the final. So I pretty much nailed it. I thought Rogue was going to put up more of a fight against SSG, and they didn't. But I actually had G2 pegged with the 2-0. So the bracket for NA at least kind of went exactly how I thought it was going to. And I even had the NRG 2-0 over SSG. So NA didn't really surprise me too much.
Well, now that we know how you stand, Corrupt had NRG over Space Station in the finals, correct?
Yes, I did.
And then Dan had Space Station over SSG. We are going... I'm pretty sure he was memeing, but if he actually got that tattoo... I'm pretty sure he was memeing. There's no way he just went and just did that, right?
Was he getting a... What was he getting? An SSG
He
tattoo?
made a tweet
Go
saying
open
that
up Twitter
it was
right now.
basically- He made a tweet that was like him getting a tattoo of Space Station Gaming being the 2021
There's the
NA
Twitter
RLCS
in the
champion.
chat.
And yeah.
What a
I
clown.
believe it should be somewhere in our media.
Yeah, that's
where he
funny.
tagged us.
Sure. That's really
But
funny.
but yeah, Dan was all aboard the Space Station train. I was in the same place as Corrupt, having NRG coming out of that lower semi. I think we were both on the same page watching this afternoon, or going into Thursday, that we really felt like the winner of the tournament was going to come out of that NRG G2 match.
I'm surprised
Now,
SSG didn't put up more of a fight, to be honest. I thought that SSG was like, so SSG held the head-to-head record by a couple series. It wasn't by much. I think it was 10-7 was the head-to-head official record by Octane that they put out. So I did expect SSG to put up more of a fight against NRG. I just know, being an NRG fan for a long time, like when it comes to the finals and it comes to that biggest, like that big match that everyone else is kind of waiting for, NRG shows out time and time again. I mean, when you have Justin on your team, who's kind of
he's
like
got that ice.
the clutch king, the 0-second god, if you will. Yeah,
He's the
that's
man
why
that
I kind of-
epitomizes your name.
yeah, that's why I had NRG picked. They epitomize clutch, to be honest.
Now, if we take a look at this bracket, Corrupt, again, biggest surprise of the week for me was Rogue. I mean, I've never been as high as some might be on Rogue. I think they peaked in Winter Major. I think they have a high ceiling, but the consistency just isn't there to be one of the top 3 teams in NA week in and week out. But you don't expect them not winning a set.
I think for me, with Rogue is like, I've always had this opinion on these type of teams in Rocket League, especially, but it's like any team that is so dependent on one player doing good for their team, I just do not think they should be considered like a really, really good team. I think it was different with First Killer because, I mean, he was just, it was insane. He was just hard carrying that team. It was some of the craziest things I was ever seeing in Rocket League. But I just think overall, you just need a good, coherent team if you want to do anything. And, teams were preparing for this one event for an entire month. And they definitely were game planning, I'm assuming, obviously against his other 2 teammates, but especially against First Killer. And they all knew the pop-off potential for First Killer. But I just think that it wasn't enough for him to be able to compete, and they unfortunately just lost 2 sets, and it was reps.
Yeah, I see that being an issue at LANs too, just having all that time to prepare. It's so easy to shut down one person. What are your thoughts, Clutch?
Yeah, I mean, First Killer needs some help on that team, and we can get into that a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the end of the story there. No team really can survive on just the back of one player. You look at a phase with AJ, he needs help too. So I think
that's exactly why they struggle to be consistent.
Right. As good as one player can be, you hit a point when you get to these level of like top 5 teams, and you're going to see that Space Station, NV, NRG are going to G2 now are going to consistently end above the rest because they have a full team. They have multiple guys who can pop off, and it makes you a lot harder to stop.
Yeah, when your third man who's just chilling in the back gets squishy muffins, you can feel pretty confident getting aggressive.
That's for sure.
Gyro, on the other hand, it's going to depend on what side of the bed he woke up. If he's an emotional wreck, we're probably screwed. But that same emotion sometimes drives FaZe to, that's what causes the pop-off game sometimes. Because AJ's going to show up. I mean, except for this tournament. But yeah, AJ's typically the old reliable for FaZe. They kind of tend to ride or die with whether Illusion and Gyro show up.
They did also run into a G2 that was playing at a performance level that took NRG to a full 3 sets. So
yeah, in game 6 of it's just and they lost, and the way they lost wasn't even like that. Like, it was just they lost to a 50 in their net too. It's just crazy. Just so
That'll
unfortunate.
leave a bad taste.
Well, you want to talk about having a month to prepare? We should probably hop over to that EU bracket and talk a little bit about that, because
yes, sir.
I think
right out of my mouth.
That month-long boot camp to really start getting prepared for it, I think it paid off dividends for Vitality.
Hey, I'm taking over the show. Hello, guys.
What is happening there?
I guess I forgot to set up to resize my new cam on this one. Boom. Let's see if
there you go. Yeah, but
Oh, man.
Vitality, I think, really impressed this weekend. Corrupt.
Yeah,
What do you
they
think about
impressed.
that?
It's just Vitality, I gotta eat all my words, and maybe they really aren't trash. Uh, I just think that um, I think the boot camp really and truthfully just helped tremendously. Just being able to boot camp and it's just because in that second series they were just dominant over BDS. It was just domination, and it was insane to see. It was like Vitality of old, and it's just
Yeah.
really good because whenever they're good, it's like really good for the scene. I feel, it's another top team for EU besides BDS. So it's really good. But besides Vitality, we gotta talk about Guild, bro.
Ugh,
Yes. So I'm gonna
big
go ahead and
disappointment.
let's take a look at how this turned out, because while it ended, I don't want to say pretty chalk. The kind of teams that most people expected to be in the finals were there, but how he got there was a little rocky. Now in EU, like we said earlier, the only matchup that really pushed NRG G2 for match of the week, in my opinion, was how we started the week with Solary Queso.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yes, I agree.
Yeah, that
100%.
Solary Queso matchup, I expected to be good just because of how good Solary looked at the end of the season. Queso obviously can play really well or really bad depending on the week. They, have pop off potential, but at times they just look lost out there, trying to almost play too speedy, and that whole series was just phenomenal. You had Solary at their peak with Chaussette playing amazing, Astral obviously playing how Astral plays, even FanRL holding his own, and Team Queso was just playing their usual offense self with Atomic just leading the way in goals. So yeah, that was super exciting to start off Europe, but after that, it kind of didn't really live up to the hype.
Now I'm gonna be honest. I fell asleep during Top Blokes Guild, and then also the next day with Queso and Guild. Fell asleep both times. Passed out cold on the couch.
How did you guys do in your predictions for the Europe side? Because my pick stop
Awful.
predictions were god awful.
I'm looking here. So the first match I picked Solary. Top
Yeah.
half I picked Guild.
Yep.
Then down in the bottom of lowers I picked Guild there. Upper semis. Oh, what do you know? I picked Guild over Vitality. Oh no, sorry. I picked Solary versus Queso in the lower quarters. That's what it was.
Jeez.
Guild.
Yeah.
And then I had Solary then beating Top Blokes to play BDS. So I'm pretty sure the only pick I got right in EU was BDS, going from the semis to the grand finals. That was the only one I got right.
Yeah, I think BDS was the easy pick to make it to the finals, but I bet you didn't predict the actual final outcome correctly.
No, I don't think anyone did.
I
Although
definitely did not.
if you
whatsoever.
check my Twitter, at the start of the match today, I actually threw all my channel points onto Vitality for that first set.
There you go.
But that's because Guild lost all of them for me, so I was in a dark place and didn't care anymore.
Yeah, Guild
So-
I think was big disappointing this weekend.
Yeah, I know Corrupt's been holding back some thoughts about them, so I wanna let him
Yeah, take the
tell
floor.
him how you really feel.
About Guild?
Yeah,
Get
let him
angry.
know. Talk to him.
Come on, boys. I put Noli on my fan RL team, bro. Do you know how disappointing that was, bro? Do you know how bad that was? He single-handedly brought down my whole fan RL team, bro. Single-handedly. And another thing is that, like, it's not even about the fact they lost. They got destroyed. They didn't even win one set this entire week. Not one set.
Yeah.
They got Top Bullets destroyed them. They got 3-1, and then they got 3-0'd by Top Bullets. And then they won 3 games overall. And then it just felt as though that anytime after they lost the first set, they just mentally and they just didn't, it just wasn't there anymore. And it's so disappointing because there's so much potential for this team, especially for a player like Noli, that something like this should not happen. You have to win one set. Like
Yeah.
this is bad. I don't know what this is like. They still finished top 6, so they won't make a change. And I don't believe they should make a change. I think they definitely should stick together, but they need to find consistency because this just isn't good at all. It just this wasn't the team that I thought would be this wasn't the team that I thought um would go into championships, but this looked like fall split guild
Yep.
that and that guild did not look like a top 6 team whatsoever. So just entirely this whole team was just super disappointing.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, I mean, we saw a resurgence from Renault Vitality this week. K-Dop looking like Landop. Fairy Peak returning to his old form. Alpha 54 just vibing out there. Did you see anything like this coming, Clutch?
No, this definitely took me by surprise, but I was pretty happy to see it. Happy and sad. I don't like when Johnny Boy all he does is praise Vitality, and you know that that is definitely gonna bolster his mentality about Vitality turning it up at the right moments. So yeah, I think that we're gonna see a lot more of that from Johnny Boy, but I was surprised by Vitality's ability to lock down BDS in the midfield, and I was really surprised by BDS's just lack of pressure on team plays. Like they looked lost when it came to trying to create team plays and passing across the middle, which really surprised me because that's kind of where BDS is better than every other team. And it looked like they were just stuck in the corners constantly. And Vitality was doing a phenomenal job of breaking out after making some unbelievable saves on the goal line and turning those chances right around into goals. So I got it. Hats off to Vitality. They played incredible.
They did play
Yeah,
incredible.
to me, it
no,
really looked like Vitality boot camped and BDS walked in thinking that it was already theirs.
Yep, I would agree
think
with that.
also, like Mark did not look good whatsoever. Like against Fatality, it was really weird. He just I don't know. This is like the worst I've ever seen Mark Bailly play, and it was at the most crucial moment.
Fraud
Now I
by
know it's, yeah. Now I know it's not a LAN, but when you turn things up to the level that a grand finals for your region is, when you put that much money on the line, there is
Yeah.
something to
That's
be
it right
said
there.
about right. There is something to be said about like a Vitality that has LAN experience versus a BDS that just like doesn't have that experience and that high of stakes of a game. So I think that this was a good like learning experience for BDS where I think they felt the nerves really early on and they just never recovered from it. So I think it's good for them to kind of learn that early before LAN start coming because that's something they're going to have to get under control.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a good learning experience, like you said. You put that much money on the line, your boy K-Dop is going to show up. He is about his bag. I saw today he was the first Rocket player to pass 500K in tournament earnings alone.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Before we
Not
move
to
on to the
mention
next,
all the people that are in his stream every day. I don't know a more consistent Rocket League stream in terms of viewing audience.
If you want to laugh at Nolly or Noli, however you say it, for his arrogance on Twitter, saying, say whatever you want about me, I'm still making bank from playing Rocket League. Like, no, you're not, dude. Look at KDOP. Like, you're not making KDOP money. If you want to say you're making bank, get to KDOP's level. That's when you can start using that as an excuse and be like, I don't really care about the tournament. I don't need to win. I make
You got to
bank.
win
Like,
more
okay,
than one regional to say you're making bank.
exactly.
Because it's making
Like,
yourself sound like you're content with where you're at. There's no drive there anymore. If you're saying, oh, I'm making bank, that means I got what I need. What's driving me?
right.
K-Dop has all the money in the world. He still wants more.
Yeah, he's a born winner, kind of like Garrett G. If you want to talk about Garrett G's mentality, K-Dop is the French version of Garrett G.
Yeah. I will say Garrett's adapted more mechanically, but in terms of their longevity in the game, it was no doubt.
Well, speaking about, talking about Garrett and K-Dop and Alpha and
wait,
Monkey
before we move
Moon.
on, can I say
Yeah,
something?
you got anything left?
Yeah, what do you got?
I just wanted to shout out 2 players, Alpha 54 and Typical. People are really disrespectful towards these 2 players and really underrate them, but to see them show up and in like the biggest moments overall, I think just needs to be highlighted. My boy Typical had 120 hours the past 2 weeks, which is absolutely insane.
He's a grinder.
I just want to shout out these two players because they just are super disrespected, I feel. And just wanted to say that. So yeah.
Yeah,
That was
so
it.
perfect. Well, that's gonna lead us right in to
Segue in.
boom. We're here. We're gonna show some cams first. I should have just pre-turned all these off. That's. Oh my gosh, Perry, you Papega.
What did you do now?
F's in the chat, please. I'm gonna have to do your video too.
Another Perry the Platypus
Hey.
mistake.
Hey, it's all right. We still winning. Let's see. We'll turn clutch off. Oh, I already did you. Perfect. We're good. And then boom, just like that. There is the overall FanRL results. If you join the Wave Dash Podcast League this week, I see Lynchmeister over there in chat. Anything you want to say? Shout out your inspiration for greatness this week.
I need to see who the hell did he have on his actual team.
Pull that up.
Let's talk about that. I'm about to do that because my
Bro, I had
team
Nolly, bro.
was awful. Yeah, well, you're dumb for picking Nolly. So
the good news for Corrupt is he didn't come in last, but the bad news to that is the only person below him did not set a lineup. So
okay,
there's that.
So Lynch had Monkey Moon, Justin, Reddles, Squishy Muffins, and Flamey.
I think Monkey Moon is a no-brainer pick. Justin, no-brainer.
What was Monkey's price this week?
I can tell you. Monkey, I think, was 1,700, I want to say. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull it
Although
up.
Reddles and Squishy were pretty good. They were pretty low price picks this week, so I could see him kind of offsetting Justin.
So Monkey
and
Moon was 1,800. Justin was 1,700.
Yep.
Reddles
Okay.
was 1,350, which is a great bang for your buck, which I think a lot of us had taken Reddles for that reason. I think he was priced really well. I think Flame, I'm actually not sure what Flame was. Flame. Let's see if I can find him really quick. Flame had to be cheap. He had to be like a 1,250 would be my guess. Flame was 1,300.
Mm.
And Squishy, what was Squishy? Squishy was 1,350. So that's, I mean, you pulled out a lot of great value picks there, Lynch. I mean, geez. Yeah, Squishy was definitely undervalued. I'm surprised that he was that low, and I am kicking myself for sleeping on him.
Yeah. Corrupt. Who did you have on your team again?
Me,
Because I know you were feeling pretty good going into the week.
I had Justin, Chicago. I probably should have just gotten J-Naps too. I had Justin, Chicago, Mark by 8, Noli, and Arsenal. The only person that cracked 500 points was Justin, but if I would have had J-Naps, I would have done better. To be honest.
It's hard to do worse than the Nolly pick this week, so yeah, I'll give you that one.
So you want to know who was my bad pick, surprisingly, here?
Who?
And actually, but this pick was way worse than Nolly.
Who was it?
Extra.
Yeah, Extra, overall, yeah, he just, I don't know, he didn't really...
Extra came in at the end of everything with 381 points. That's it.
Oh,
That's abysmal.
The lowest amount of points on my team was 414, and it was Nolly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, really surprised by Extra not performing up to what I thought his value would have been and what BDS's value would have been. I actually, in hindsight, I wanted to pick people who were going further in the tournament, but now that I think about it, the lack of games from Extra and like those guys kind of hurt me. So
yeah.
I mean, it's a double-sided sword because if they don't play many games and they get bounced out early, then you're cucked. If they play a ton of games and they play like shit, you're cucked. But like, it can go either way. But who would you guys overall say was the fantasy player of the week this week?
Ooh, fantasy player of the week. I might have to give it to
Octane. Go ahead.
What are you gonna say? Who?
I was just gonna say before I let you guys give your answers, I was just gonna read off according to Octane.gg, the top 5 performers this week by rating. Mist in
Okay.
5th with a 1.015. Justin next with 1.064. Garrett with a 1.11. Second was JNaps with a 1.158. And first killer, despite not winning a set, has a 1.2. Numbers don't
just
matter,
ridiculous.
kids. Play with your team.
Yeah, that is basically what that tells you. But yeah, fantasy wise, I don't think first was probably the best fantasy pick you could have made. And that's
Probably
simply
not.
because of value. If you want
Yeah.
to talk about who was like the best bang for your buck, it's got to be probably either Reddles or Squishy this weekend.
Yeah, I would say the typical Reddles duo for me was probably what kept me in good shape. I don't even have my team pulled up right now. Can we pull that up?
Man, I had to pick J-Naps,
Oh
bro.
my god, I take
I
it all
had to
back.
pick J-Naps.
First killer was
What?
Yeah.
662 points.
There's,
That's the
I was
highest I've
gonna
seen
say
so far.
there's no way he had a 1.2 rating and didn't put up numbers.
Holy crap, that's high.
Yeah.
Yeah, first killer is
Yeah.
your best fantasy player of all time, so just pick first killer and your fantasy team will do
Can,
well.
can you pull my
That's
lineup
ending
up
advice.
for me,
Archie
Clutch?
too.
Yeah, let's see. You are Perry.
I am.
Perry, Astral 566. Let's go in order. Astral 566, Sypical 547, Reddles 506, Mist 494, and Mark by 8 444. So surprisingly, from what I'm seeing, it's like actually the BDS team was probably the worst picks people could have made.
Yes.
Monkey
They
Moon with
played, like,
586 isn't
Besides
terrible.
Monkey Moon. Yeah, besides
Mhm.
Monkey Moon.
Because they
Now,
only
do you guys
had
want to know the worst
2
player?
series, and they played like ass in the finals. So like that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
What were you
All
saying,
right,
Corrupt?
now without looking at stats on the FanRL page, tell me who you think was the worst overall player in fantasy wise with points. Just throw a guess.
AJ.
What about you, Clutch?
The best, what was it? Sorry.
The worst overall fantasy player.
Oh, it had to
This
be extra.
It was AJ
Okay.
with
Yeah, but he didn't
367 points.
didn't even score, I don't think.
He did not score a single goal the
Yep,
whole series.
that's-
Shut up. That's
that's what-
awful.
Yep, I knew he was going first
No,
day
you
and
did
didn't
not.
score, so I just was like, that's the only idea I have.
Poor AJ. Bad time
He-
to have your worst week of Rocket League.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's normally the one that's there for him.
Well, talking about good players, bad players, let's move on from fantasy a little bit and let's talk about some top 10 players, right? Am I right
Yeah.
on that's
Yes,
next on
sir.
the list?
Absolutely.
I want to move into that because I'm really interested in your top 10. So this is going to be top 10 in all of RLCS X, like throughout the entire season. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we were doing it like right now, at this moment, your top 10 players in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
who
and
wants to start with
we're
number
gonna
10?
work backwards together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Give
Corrupt.
me your guys' number 10s.
Yeah. Go ahead, Corrupt.
I have Archie,
Ooh,
number
nice.
10.
That's your 10? Is Archie?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You're sleeping on Archie, my guy.
I'm not sleeping on Archie.
You're sleeping on my boy
I'm not
Archie.
sleeping on Archie.
We'll
I got
we'll
Archie
talk
number
we'll
10.
talk more about Archie later. Don't you worry.
I need a 10th still, so you can go, Perry, if you know who you want. as your
Number
10.
10, I'm gonna go with Extra.
Okay. Why that far down?
I'm sure it's partly recency bias, but I know how much Monkey Moon does for that team. I know how much Mark by 8 likes to chase. So Extra's a phenomenal player. Like, again, we're nitpicking by saying, oh my gosh, you have him so low at 10.
I don't think
But
it's nitpicking. We're talking about a player that came into a roster that was pretty good and took them into the best in the world until this last weekend.
Yeah, but
I think
everyone has
that's
seen
low
a
for
player
Extra.
before that. Everyone knows a teammate they've had that they'd call the glue, like what holds it together. Whether it's your friend circle, like where it's a little bit different if they're not there, like the vibes are just off. So Monkey Moon and Mark by 8 weren't any worse at Rocket League before Extra came. but he
All right,
enables them in ways that get the most out of them.
But okay. Before I say anything else, I should point out that I think I just rounded out my list and I have extra at 10. So. So, as I looked at my list, I realized
Can
I didn't
someone
have
clip
extra
that,
on there
please?
yet.
Can someone clip that, please?
I realized I didn't have extra on there yet, and then I looked back at my list again to see where I would have slotted him in higher, and I was like, actually, on second thought, I think we're okay with where extra is at 10.
Are you filling these in as we go for us? On the do you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the doc open?
Yeah, I'm filling it up.
Okay,
Great.
cool. All right, then let's reverse the order for 9. Clutch, you're starting us off.
All right, at number 9, I have Mist, and this is
Woo!
a tough one for me. I think I have him a little bit low, but I think there are other people who have popped off recently that could be valued a little bit higher than Mist. I think Envy's recent struggles have made me kind of be a little bit lower on Mist than maybe I was originally. But Mist has the potential to be a top 5 player in the world. I just think recently he hasn't been playing like that. So overall in the season, I think I'm comfortable putting him at 9.
Mist was grinding for championships with a solid 55 over the past 2. That's grinding for Mist. The 4-time, though, came in with 30 hours over the past 2. 30
It's
hours.
not a LAN. It's not a LAN. He doesn't care.
160K? I care about that.
Yeah, well, you're not a 4-time champion.
That's correct. I'm barely champ. I got the champ part, but for me, I'm gonna put Chicago at 9.
Okay.
All right, Chicago didn't make my list, but I think that that's a fair spot for Chicago.
He's just because it's a theme we've seen in these lists before. I actually did pair the dynamic duo together because I don't know if either one is as good without the other. Well, that's stupid. They're both still incredible Rocket League players, but just like I said, Extra gets the most out of Monkey Moon. I think Chicago and JNaps just enable each other in offense. That it's just those intangibles that you can't put it on. So I've got Chicago 9 and JNaps 8.
Let me hit you with some stats right here for Chicago. So you're talking about, let's see, the 5th best rating in the entire world, North America and Europe, 5th best rating. In goals per game, he was 4th across the entire season.
Yep.
Assists, he was 1st.
Yep.
So I do not blame you for having Chicago on this list, and I don't blame you for having him at 9. He honestly could probably be even higher than that.
If G2 had won anything, he would be. I'm
I
not
agree
trying to
with
be
that.
harsh, but you got to win.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
winning.
What do you got, Corrupt?
I want to make a change because Archie at 10 is pretty bad. Not gonna lie to you, but I'll tough it out. I'll tough it out.
If Roll Diz didn't get to take back Extra at 18, you're sticking
Yeah,
with
I
Archie
can't.
at 10.
Yeah.
I have to.
We got a 9, Corrupt.
I have Extra at 9.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah,
Respect.
that's pretty much right where we had him. What do you
I
got
think
at 8?
8. Oh, you want me to say my 8th pick? Ooh,
Yeah, we'll
8.
double it back. Keep going back around.
Yep.
I have Typical.
I like it.
Typical.
I have Typical.
I don't even have Typical on my list, to be honest.
Typical, I feel as though Typical is still top 10 in the world. It's just that people don't really think of him as top 10 because he doesn't have to do what he's used to do, where he had to basically do almost everything. But now he can freely focus on what he's good at, which is, I think, overall better for him. But yeah, I have Typical 8. Who's your 8?
He plays a play style that is definitely better suited for what SSG needs right now. I don't think that the fact that he fits SSG's play style perfectly makes him a top 10 player, in my opinion. I think that there are definitely better players in the world than Typical right now. He definitely holds that team together, but there are better players out there. Who do you got, Perry, at 8?
I did mine last time around. I went with
J-Naps.
J-Naps.
Yeah, he says back to back. He said Chicago, then J-Naps.
Yep.
Okay.
So I can go ahead and start
Gotcha.
off the sevens though.
Well, I gotta hit my eighth, so it's J-Naps as well. So
Oh,
we're on the same page there.
perfect. Why did I think you said yours? My bad. Cutting you off.
All good.
So you got J-Naps. So we're 2 out of 3. Me and Clutch are on the same page. Corrupt's out
Yes.
here wild now.
Yeah, Corrupt's page is a little all over the place. I don't know how I feel about it yet.
All right. I didn't mean to say extra at 9, but it's okay. He's not. I freaked out. It was
So on
ridiculous.
your own picks, you're 1 for 3.
Yes, basically. Because I didn't. No, because I was looking at it wrong. Because I thought I was trying to be fair and try to have enough, but I should just do my list how I want to do mine. So my
Screw
list right now.
NAU.
My list right now is 10 is Archie, 9 is Miss, and Sepcal 8. And that's how it is for me. That's how it is for me. No more change for now on. Doesn't matter what y'all feel.
Deal. All right. I will start off the round of 7. I gotta remember because I took a screenshot. I had a list earlier and then changed it as I was saying number 10. So we're making it up as we go. At number 7, this might be a little hot, but I'm gonna put Astral at 7. Mechanics wise, he is out of this world and probably top 3 or 4. But I continue to, when things get tough, it's head and hands. I'd rather have a teammate. I've seen Sypical go straight demon form when they need to make a run and like make a comeback. And
Astral's in the
I feel just Astral is, I don't see necessarily the mentality edge that I want to see when times are tough.
So you have Astral at 7.
Astral.
Yeah, he has
7.
Astral.
Is that correct? Okay.
What about you?
I
He's
actually
not on
realized
oxygen, you dingus.
he's on Solar.
He's on Solary.
Yeah.
I actually wrote down Mist twice, so
Nice.
we're gonna have to pivot from that, and I think I'm gonna put a young gun who probably doesn't belong on this list at all, but I'm only gonna do it because I'm pivoting from Mist, which I had too high, and I'm gonna put a Chronic in there.
Yep, I knew he was gonna say a Chronic.
Ooh,
I think
As soon as he
I
said
forgot
Demon,
him.
I think a Chronic has been extremely special so far, and for BS Plus, and he has potential that is untapped right now, and we're gonna see a lot more of him next season that I am really, really excited for.
Spoiler alert, a Chronic is on my list, but he's not on my list because I just haven't seen enough from him on.
That's fair. He's very
He'll
young,
be there in the
very,
future.
very raw. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna be my list in the future, but I just didn't feel as though it'd be alright to put him on the list right now specifically, type of thing, you know?
If I hadn't wrote down Mist twice, I probably would swap my Mist and a Chronic picks and have a Chronic at 9 and Mist at 7. But I'm gonna stick with where I have them both for right now. So
Because I forgot him, I'm not too mad because he'll be a top 5 player someday. He just needs more experience. So he's been around the bubble. So I'm gonna say a Chronic's my honorable mention. Although there was another one I already had planned, but that's okay. I'll just go ahead and give you all my number 6, which is going to be Sypical. I think he does so much for Space Station in terms of letting Arsenal run around like a monkey, going for people's booties and all that stuff, letting him run crazy. And he is just so mechanically good. I think a lot of people underrate him. I think he has that killer switch that when SSG's up against the wall, Sypical's the one that's starting things out for him usually.
He didn't really do that well today, but I just don't think that whole team was really on point today. It was just, they made finals though, which is good. But next time hopefully they can close it out. But overall, I think they still did pretty good, but just unfortunate type of ending, Yeah. I guess you want me to go Clutch or you want to go?
no, you can go. Go ahead.
So I wasn't able to say my number 7. But number 7 is J-Naps. Dynamic duo.
I skipped over you because I saw it typed in. My bad.
It's all good. It's all good. Dynamic duo of him in Chicago. J-Naps is a shooter, has an ACOG sight on him.
We got shooters.
But number 6 for me, I have Astral. I think
I
Astral.
don't like Astral in either of your picks, but go ahead, explain it.
I think Astral is definitely one of the best players in the world. He's definitely the second best player in EU. Um, I think the whole mindset thing is overblown, in my opinion. I think he's still fully capable of focusing up, and we heard like no complaints from both of his teammates about his attitude during games. Um, I understand from his player cam he may seem distraught, but I just don't think that it really like hampers down his teammates. Maybe it does. We'll never know the full story unless they say it, but I just don't. I think he does a lot more good than harm, and he's definitely like one of the best players in the U. The reason why he's not higher is I think all the players above him, I think I definitely pick over him. Cause how I did this list is like, I went down. I was like, who would I pick? Who would I pick above? And basically like, who would be my first pick, my second pick, my third pick, fourth type of thing, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's
I mean that's definitely fair. My problem with Astral is the way that Solary has been playing lately. But I guess Chaussette kind of popping off has turned that team back into a good team now. I just think Astral is as much a detriment to himself while being a catalyst to his team.
What about the boy in the backpack, Farah? Like Farah, in my opinion, is what holds back Solary.
I would agree with that. I think that they need to move on from Farah. It's about time, and there are some really good options in EU that I think you could replace Farah with that will take that team to the next step. So that'll be
a French
exciting
speaker
to see.
though. That's the thing. Chaussette and Astral, I don't think speak English.
Well, no,
you got Monkey Moon, and Extra aren't going anywhere. K-Dop's not going anywhere after winning this, for sure.
Astral speaks English, by the way.
Oh, he does? But does
Yeah,
Chaussette?
I don't know.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think he does. I know for sure Astral speaks English, like for sure.
All right, well then, shit. We're definitely gonna touch back on Solary then here in a little bit anyway. But let's go ahead. Where am I at on my list?
Pick.
Yes,
I'll get my 6th and 5th in. So my 6th pick, I went with Archie. So I thought that you had him really low at 10. I have him a lot higher. When you look at Archie statistically and how Top Blokes performed through the first half of the season, I know that they fell off in the spring split, but Archie was the catalyst to that team really carrying them. Archie, showed out time and time again. So yeah, I just think that you kind of have to put him up at the top. But yeah, so Archie, I think, was an easy pick for me. He comes in 3rd overall for the entire season, score per game. He was in the top half for shooting goals per game. Archie he was a catalyst for Top Blokes and is a reason that team is as good as it is. So I think you have to put him in the top half of the best players in the world. And I'm really excited to see what they can do moving forward. I think that they may make a change to someone on that team, and I think it'll be good for them. I assume it's not going to be Archie leaving. So Archie is my 6th pick. And then my 5th pick, I had Alpha 54. I know that Vitality has struggled through this season, and it might be a bit bold to put Alpha that high, but I think this championship weekend kind of reminded us how good Alpha 54 is.
That's just beautiful, kid. I was thinking about putting him in there, but it was like, I felt as though like that team should have done a lot better, in my opinion.
How are they going to do better?
I think
they waited until the last tournament to do anything.
Okay, but they finished
beat BDS earlier in the year.
They beat,
but they never beat BDS other than today, did they?
No, they beat them once in September, but
so that's how you do better. It's the Mickey Mouse region. The teams below BDS and Vitality, you're supposed to beat them.
But nobody else beat BDS. It's not like
Guild did.
Vitality was the only one. Guild beat them once too. Yeah, but they beat them once. They just did it more recently than Vitality.
They did it twice in the same event.
Well, so did Vitality also beat them twice now, and one of those wins was a lot more important than any of the Guild wins.
I'd agree.
My point being is that Vitality still finished 2nd overall in EU standings.
Yeah,
and a large part of that is Alpha. Alpha is an incredible player and really woke back up. And Vitality, despite their struggles through the second half of the season, when it mattered most, who showed up? Vitality did.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
So I put him up high on my list.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick. I can
Thank
respect it.
goodness we're in NA, because if there's EU people watching, like, I got a ton of EU players like right on my bubble that didn't make it. So, but
Yeah, it was
go
very
ahead, Corrupt.
tough. For me, I have Chicago 5.
Bet.
Above
think he's-
JNAPS.
Yeah, I think Chicago's better than JNEPS. I feel as though that he's the main reason why G2 is like the G2 of now. He's such a great distributor. He might not have the best of accuracy, but I think like on the offensive end, he's like the one that gets things going offensively. And he's like the captain of that team too. Whenever you see the cams up, he's doing comms, he's the vocal leader, everything. And
Yeah.
he's just overall, I think is just better than JNEPS. As that's not saying, obviously, that's not saying JNEPS is bad. I just think that Chicago's like one of the best players in NA, definitely. I think I think he finally was able to prove it during this championship run, in my opinion, because I've always had like Chicago in my top 5 NA. I am a
Yeah.
Chicago fan, but I always have like been so high on Chicago, even whenever he first joined G2. But him being able to finally prove it to the world, I feel, is a really big showcase. But yeah, I have Chicago at 5 in the world right now.
All right.
I don't think it's a bad pick.
I'm trying to remember because I deleted my list, and so I know I'm gonna forget someone in this top
come on.
5 that's just gonna be
We're-
number 5.
I know
I'm going
you're-
miss though.
Okay.
Number 5, I'm going
I'm gonna
miss.
say 5
I
down should be pretty easy now for all of us, because I think our 4-3-2-1 is just gonna be a order
All the same.
variation of the same
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, 5 is missed. If he were a grinder more, he could be probably the best player in the world.
Yeah.
But when 55 over 2 is your grind, nothing wrong with being. I mean, he's still 5th best player in the world. Like
I don't know, bro. I don't know, bro. 60 hours is a lot of hours for Rocket League. I
over
feel.
2
And
weeks for a
there's some pros-
professional at the top of
Yeah.
the sport. Top of the sport.
I mean, yeah, but you gotta understand that like not a lot of people are gonna have like 60 hours is, I would say, like kind of normal. Like
that is
unnormality-
literally his job, though. So not only is there the downtime when he is playing just for fun, but then there's also the practice times, the scrim times. Like, how much time do you think he puts into scrims on each week?
Yeah, but Turinturo like had like, I know this is Turinturo, but he had like, I think
2
like
hours a day equals
30 hours something.
Yeah, and that's why Rogue didn't win a set.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put Envy losing on Miss. Miss like performed well, in my opinion. It was
Well,
like,
no.
I think-
That's what I'm
I get
saying.
the sentiment,
When
though.
55 hours is miss hardcore grind, that's not
Yeah.
enough.
It was 60. It was 60.
Yeah, it was 60.
Still, that should be your
4 hours.
normal throughout the regular season. That's 30 hours a week. That's less than a normal job. When it's the end of the year, last tournament, win or go home, you're telling me that you can't grind even a 40-hour work week like a normal person playing video games. Come on.
I mean, I'm just spitting out the rumor mill here, but from what I understand, that could be also in part to what's going on behind the scenes with
Yep.
Envy. If there is that disconnect between the team and some beefing going on between Atomic and Turbo Pulsa, maybe Mist, wasn't like he didn't want to get on. If Turbo's not playing, Atomic's not playing, your hours are only going to matter so much if you're not playing with your teammates. You're
Yeah.
going to build bad habits with randoms. You'd rather get on and grind with your team. So I think it says more about the team's lack of dedication, and it showed on the field in the fact that Envy
Yeah.
got pretty much crushed right out of the gates. In the last, 2-3 tournaments that they've played in, they haven't looked good. So I think that there's more going on in that Envy situation, and I don't want to put all of the hours stuff on Mist when I think that there's more to that story.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that later. But we'll just keep going with our list for now. My number 4 is going to be First Killer.
What?
Really? What?
Mm-hmm.
What?
That's wild. Why?
Oh, I know who has
He's
it,
sitting
by
at
the way.
home watching the
Listen to
last
it.
3 days of the tournament. He peaked in Winter Major. He is an incredible player. But to have... You said it earlier. You can't
Faz.
rely on just one player.
So what does that have to do with First Killer? We're talking about the best player, not the best teams right now. If you want to put Rogue deep down, then fine. That's fair. But First Killer is by and far the first or second best player in NA. I think there's only 2 players in NA, and the rest of them are kind of not even close, in my
That
opinion.
is disrespectful to Garrett General. Disrespectful.
Garrett
Did you
G's
see that
good.
dude this week? That
He's
dude,
good.
his mechanics are going to another level. He does not stop getting better.
First Killer is better than him.
And the
Wait,
thing is,
how
Garrett
many-
doesn't need to have his teammates let him run around like a monkey in order to get his points.
Bro, the boy Dano said fourth is generous, to be honest. That's crazy to me.
True.
And,
Digi Dano in the chat. Have my back, brother.
Also,
No.
shout out Humdigger too.
Big nonsense.
Humdigger.
I just don't agree. All right.
That's nonsense. I don't even need to put like time and effort into that. We're talking about the best player by statistics, by like every measure. First Killer led the entire
Since when do
RLCS between NA and
points
EU and
determine
score
the
per
best
game.
player?
Oh, come on. You know as well as I do that he dominated.
If he was as good as
This
you'd
is-
say,
but
he
this
would
isn't
do
that-
more.
But
But
bro, this
what,
is-
when's the
over,
last
like,
time we saw them even make a run? Not since like Regional 2. They went
If you
home
put
early.
First Killer,
They didn't
if
even
you
make it
put
out of
First
groups
Killer
in the
on
major, did they?
SSG, replace Reddles with First Killer. SSG is
They're
the
trash.
best team in North America. No cap.
No, bro.
No
No,
cap.
they're
Burn
not
all of your
trash, bro. What are
caps.
you talking about? Bro,
First
if
I
Killer
disagree.
Fourth is just.
you-
I
as
think
respectful.
I think the
That's-
SSG Arsenal runs around too much to let First Killer ball chase the way he wants to.
No, I just plain disagree. Put
All
First
right,
Killer
well,
on
I-
Envy in
We'll
place of
move on.
Atomic.
So you could tell me where you have who you guys have at fourth then.
Corrupt. I think me and you are similar here. Who you got?
I got Garrett G at 4.
I have Garrett G as well. I think that that's a respectable spot for him. I think that there are 3 players that are better than him in the world, but I think Garrett G is incredibly impressive in his mentality, his play style, his ability to adapt to the new metas has been unbelievable. And
There is
he's a
more to
catalyst
Rocket
for
League than
NRG.
mechanics.
There is more to Rocket League than mechanics.
If it was a
but that doesn't-
mechanical player list, First Killer's 1 or 2, no doubt. But
but First
if
Killer
I'm
does
looking
everything.
for a player right now, if I'm gonna pluck someone out of RLCS to build a team around,
First
I'm
Killer,
taking the
that's your
general
first
over
pick.
First Killer. I'm taking
What?
Garrett G.
Actually, no, wait. I can understand that. But what I'm trying to say is that there's no way that when we're not, but what me and Clutch are saying is that like First Killer like is definitely
You're
a
basing
winner.
it on mechanics and stats. There
I'm
is
not
more.
mixing them up.
Garrett General's game sense and knowledge First Killer can't catch up to that. Because Garrett G's been to more RLCS championships than years First Killer's been alive, basically. He's been doing it since the game's been around, and he has never once faded. Who else has done that besides K-Dop and Turbo, who are arguably 2 of the top 5 players of all time in a lot of people's lists? Who else? Tell me. So if I'm starting a team, I want a dude I can count on, a dude I know is going to lead. Not First Killer looking tilted on the camera. I want the general screaming and telling Justin to turn his light on and Squishy Muffins yelling, "Come on, motherfucker!" That's what I want.
I don't know, man. I think we're gonna agree to disagree on this one. I think that you have First Killer too low. I think 4th is respectable for Garrett G, and where I'd probably put him on most lists. But I do understand your point. If you're building a team,
Yeah,
Garrett G is a type of guy who can fill in anywhere. But yeah, First Killer I have.
Again,
a
if
little
we're
bit
going
lower.
on mechanics, if that's what we're determining is the best player of Rocket League, First Killer's ahead of Garrett. But
All right,
mechanics
I'm
are
gonna-
not what makes up. So
I'm
go ahead and hit me with your
move
third then,
on.
Clutch. Yeah.
My 3rd is Monkey Moon. And I think that this is a fair spot for him. I think that there are 2 players that are better.
It's
Monkey
crazy.
Moon has done a phenomenal job for BDS. It's hard to say anything bad about him. I honestly think that these 3 players that I have at my 1, 2, and 3 can interchange at any time in a season. I think that they're all capable of being the best player in the world at times, but right now I have Monkey Moon a little bit lower than the other 2. And maybe that's partially because of Championship Sunday, but I think that Monkey Moon still has a little bit to improve on, and I'm excited to see him on lands. I think on lands we're going to see another level of Monkey Moon that'll probably put him higher on this list.
It's funny
What
because
about you,
my
Fro?
3 is also Monkey Moon. I just think the two players above him are just better,
Yeah,
in my opinion. It's
Yep.
just
flat
that's
out.
I just think they're better. Uh, but I mean, Clutch basically hit on just the nail in the coffin. But like, yeah, I just think the two players I put above him are better right now. Like right now, I'm not saying he won't be better in the future,
Once
but
he
right
gets that
now,
land experience,
yeah,
today was a
I'm excited to
today
see
was
him
a
on
big
land.
learning curve for him. That's
yes, for
actually why.
that whole team,
Yeah.
team.
I've got we're trioing on row 3. It's Destiny.
Wow, the first across the board agreement.
Monkey Moon BDS. All right.
All right, Perry.
And then do you want me to just go 2 and then 1? Because it's pretty obvious.
I
you
can already
have-
guess. Yeah, I can.
I'm
yeah.
gonna be upset if you have one over the other, but I'm assuming, and I hope I'm right, that you have Garrett at 2 and Justin at 1.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank God.
Especially
that you at least
because-
recognize that Justin is the best player in the world.
Justin's light was on. I saw him smile and I saw him scream today. You give me that Justin over anybody in the world at any point in time. He's the best to ever do it when he is vibing. He just takes over in a way that nobody else can. And there's nobody
Fair.
more clutch than him.
Except for me.
Well, true, but he doesn't have the blessing of being named that by birth.
All right. You want me to go, Clutch? Or you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have First Killer 2, then Justin 1.
Wow.
I think First Killer is definitely one of the best players in the world. Definitely top 3. In my opinion, he's a definite top 3. I think that if he was on another top 4 team, in NA, they probably have BDS level dominance. In my
I
opinion.
agree with that.
I just think he's a winner, and I think what a lot of I don't know why, but a lot of Rocket League people fail to understand is that at the top you're going to be willing to change your playstyle. Like there were so many times where whenever this is going a little bit off topic with Rizzo, where they would be but he's not gonna but who if they get AJ, who on that team's gonna play defense? Like I just think that if it comes down to it, if they want to win, players are going to change their playstyles.
If
To a
that were the
certain
case,
degree.
why do they still have Turo? They still have 2 players who aren't quite good enough to be that second man, which enables First to do whatever he wants, and then they kind of play off him.
Well, you gotta understand, Perry. They dropped in Fall Split. They dropped before CSX. They dropped Wonder for Turin, and then after Fall Split, they dropped Crow for Taroko, which immediately during the first regional, you could see that team was 10 times better. And then they went on a tear for the last 2 regionals, and then lost in at the major to NRG, and then the first regional in the spring split they won. So I think that what happened more so is that players that even First Killer I don't think was really grinding that much on that team. I think that they are one of the teams that are definitely going to make a move, because I agree that they definitely need to make a move if they want to be a top team again. But we can't act as if that team, all 3 of these players, weren't peaking during Winter Split. But yeah, I got First Killer 2, and I got Justin 1
Okay.
because I mean he's one of the greatest NA players of all time.
Yep.
He's consistent top 3. There was a little dip and where I could understand why someone would put him at worst 5 in NA, but he's consistently great. He's consistent clutch, plays amazing defense, amazing offense. He can do everything. He's the one of the greatest, if not the greatest NA player of all time, and one of the greatest just NA talents to come out, and one of the greatest Rocket League talents in general. So that's why I have to have Justin one, and proved it once again why he is Justin, and he is who he is, and why he's a world champion, and why he
Mm-hmm.
has scored so many clutch goals. But yeah, I got Justin number one.
Yep, I got big agreements there. I got first killer and then Justin number one. And I think you pretty much nailed it with your talk on first killer and Justin. The only thing I'll add, I think first killer has the mechanics, the ability to be the best player in the world. I have Justin ahead of him because I think Justin is a little bit more seasoned, a little bit more mature, has
Yeah.
more of that clutch killer instinct right now. But I think that first killer is going to be developing that. The one thing I need to see from him, and I hope that he develops it, is a little bit more maturity. He's got too big of an ego right now, and I think that that's to his own detriment. And if he continues down that path of having that big of an ego, it's going to hurt him in the long term. I think if he finds a good teammate like Toroko and then gets someone else, maybe, I think that that team can really take the next step. And I'm excited for First Killer's development because you got to remember, First Killer's only 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's really young in the scene, and he's this good. I have him number 2. So I think he's got a lot to. Yes, I agree with that, Dano. Going down the wrong path of his ego could turn First Killer into more of a scrub killer type of vibe, and I hope that he doesn't go that path. I hope that he finds people to kind of mentor him a little bit more and give him some maturity, because First Killer in a more mature setting is going to be a really, really dangerous player in Rocket League for a really long time.
Yeah,
I don't
totally
think
agree
First
with
Killer
that.
Man, this is gonna be a hot take. Are y'all ready for this, bro?
Bring it.
Y'all ready for this?
Da-na-na.
First Killer right now is way better than Scrub ever has been.
Yeah. I mean,
The amount of
yes, I would-
things that players are capable of. I mean, it's the game's
It's
evolved.
it's
The-
really hard to
your-
compare them.
Your
Well,
Diamond
yes.
3 is the equivalent of like what, High Champ from a few years ago?
Yeah,
but
I would say yeah.
also, like, here's the other part to that, and it's tough because Scrub Killer went to Vitality. But Scrub Killer was the prodigy of Rocket League, right? And comes in and in his second year won a world championship and then went back to back on top of that. So, on one sense, I agree with you. I think that Scrub was I would never have rated Scrub this highly on a top 10 list when he was in his first 3 years. But First Killer hasn't done anything, whereas Scrub has. So I hope.
So you're making my
near
point.
future,
You're making my case that you have First Killer too high. The mentality is exactly what I was speaking to about Garrett
no,
G.
I'm only comparing him to Scrub Killer. I still think that First Killer, despite his ego, despite some of the issues with maturity, I still think he's the second best player in the world. I think that that aside, or in consideration, he is still the best. Like, that's how good he is.
Fair enough. Well, there's our top 10 players in the world right now. We spent a lot of time on that. So, guys, if you got our rundown pulled up, I'm ready to talk some roster mania. I don't know about you. I feel like there's a lot to talk about, so we talked about our top 10 for a minute. So, I just want to head right into roster mania, and Clutch, just what's your number one headline coming into this offseason? Who do you think, if you had to make one move for a team, what would it be?
Yeah. So if I had to take one team and make a move, I think right now, the team that I would say has. Oh, this is tough. You know what? I want to go with the easy answer and go with who we were just talking about, but I'm actually going to change it up. I'm going to go Solary. If there's a team that needs to make a change right now, I think it's Solary. It's time. I know how good of friends they are with Farah, but it is time to let Farah go. Sometimes you just need to let the child walk out of the nest. Time to let him go. Drop him. Get rid of him. I'm sorry. You tried it for as long as you could. You tried it with different players. You had multiple teams, reciprocity, PSG
Who you booting him for?
Esports.
Frontline.
There are plenty of players that you can go grab. If Solary really wants to spend the money, there are players that you can buy out contracts. The hard part will be whether or not they want to keep the all-French team. I know that they have not had all-French teams in the past. So that's where it'll get interesting. Do they want, to keep French speaking, like I said, teams going? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly who you replace him with, to be honest. I think that there are plenty of good options in Europe. I still think that Europe needs to figure itself out a little bit. There are a lot of players on teams that I think aren't the right fit. And I think that there are a lot of teams that hopefully will make moves in Europe and get really good this offseason. So, but one of those teams, Solary, top of my list, you need to make a change. I think Astral and Chaussette are too good to be wasting their potential right now like this.
Yep. What about you, Corrupt? You're the GM of one team of your choosing. You have one roster move to make.
Only one team.
Yep.
Oof.
For right now. Don't worry. We'll talk more.
If I could go right now, it would be FaZe, and it would have to be either dropping Gyro or Lucian, and throwing as much money as you can to Daniel, and
I knew
getting
that was
him.
coming. Yep.
You want FaZe to acquire Daniel.
For
Yes.
those of you that don't know,
Winter.
Daniel is the 14, soon-to-be 15-year-old wonder kid that is just destroying pros on
So when you
the NA
when you
servers.
talk about prodigies, there are 3 prodigies really, and it's weird to say that because I don't include Justin on this list. I think that Justin was incredible in RLRS, and despite that, I still think he came in a little underrated onto NRG and then really blew up after that. There were 3 people who the entire community sat around waiting for them to turn of age, and that's Scrub Killer, First Killer, and now Daniel. So
Yep.
Daniel is going to be one of, if not the most anticipated moves when he becomes of age. I think in the winter split it'll be.
That's gotta be a
Honestly,
lot,
it might
for
be
sure.
one of the most expensive NA contracts for a first-time player ever.
That's also
Yeah.
true. That's why I
Whoever
said
signs
FaZe. I think FaZe
FaZe
has
has
the
the
money
bag.
to do it.
It's going to be one of the big
Yeah.
orgs for sure. One of the little ones, they don't have enough. Unless Daniel is one of those people that wants to go in and build it
win?
from the ground up. Like, some people like that. Daniel's probably just going to want the bag and the championships off the bat. So, for me personally, my roster move is going to be a bit surprising. I know someone said they would not make a move for Guild this offseason. However,
Okay.
I think that there's a player that is not currently happy in EU that could take that team to another level. Now,
What player?
Tho is an incredible first man for Guild. But Devo on the back end, he's got the experience that you need. Nolly's a great second man. And the kid Archie is
Yep, I knew he's gonna say
he's
that.
unhappy.
Knew he
Plug
was
him in
gonna say
there.
that.
That team is. Imagine Nolly and Archie running around with Devo backing him up.
I don't off the bat necessarily think that team is better than Top Lokes is right now. Plugging Archie in to
Archie is
instead
top
of
blokes.
Tho.
Archie is top
I don't-
blokes.
I don't think that makes that team better than what Top Lokes is right now. I think that's a lateral move.
Mm.
That's
I
my
don't know about
personal
that, but-
opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's a lateral move. I think that I don't know. Guild's a weird one for me. I think
it
that they
might
should
be-
make a move, but
I think that team with Archie might just be a more inconsistent Team Queso, but better with a way higher ceiling.
Yeah.
I just think.
But they
that
also can play some defense because
It was
Devo's back
be-
there.
rough at the beginning for sure.
Yep. Mhm.
Maybe it's because it's just so 50-50.
It just depends if Nolly's chucking controllers or not, too.
nah, give my boy Scrub Killer a chance. Get Scrub Killer on a top team in EU.
All right, so you guys don't think that
Right.
Guild should be making a change. So I want to hear about some other teams that maybe have been rumored to have been in the Roster Mania wheelhouse, but you don't think they should be making a change.
A team that probably should not make a change, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Huh. This is a tough one for me. I think the easy. Oh, that's a good point, Dano. That is a good point. Envy in the NA side, what do you do with them before I go into the team that I do not think should make a move?
Well, we're going to
If
touch
the
on a bunch of
rumors-
teams that are going to make a change this offseason right after this. So hit me with the ones that should stay the same, and then we're going to talk about all the movers.
Okay. Are we not going to talk about the Envy team right now?
I think it's a good point that we should talk about Envy right now. Envy,
right, go for it.
if those rumors are true,
Yeah.
about
So
the
who
discontent
was it that
in the
broke those
team,
rumors in our Discord to us? Was that Corrupt or Clutch?
Let me. I was
corrupt?
okay. So I posted the screenshot. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear
Yes.
Can you hear me? Well,
Yes.
I put the screenshot. It was like after that. It was like the post match thread on Reddit, and this guy on Reddit basically said that Turbo or Atomic was like mad at Turbo. So I don't know how 100% legit it is, but it was basically like Atomic was like mad at Turbo and he wanted to kick him after the winner split. But I don't know how valid that was, and the guy from Reddit saw that from one of the Shift RLE like Twitters or founders and just saying it in Discord chat. But I don't know how true it is, but if it is true, I think man, it's tough. I think one of Atomic or Turbo Pulse are gone, if that is true. But I don't know. I don't know.
So
It's tough.
between those two, if you got to get rid of Atomic or Turbo, who are you getting rid of, Corrupt?
Oh, I think I'm getting rid of Turbo, bro. I think he's a great player, wonderful, great player, but I just don't see him getting better than what he is now. And maybe I think I could go into the market and get someone way better than him, and like to compete with. But maybe that's just me. Because what I'm saying is that you have to keep Mist because Mist is your best player. He's a star player, and I feel as though you have to build around him. But I just don't know if I would want to get rid of Atomic, because I think both Turbo and Atomic didn't really play that well today, or yesterday. So it was like, it's a 50-50. I feel it's like you either go with the young gun or you go with like more of the seasoned veteran.
I think that Atomic has been really disappointing lately, and here's actually going to be a hot take. So if you're gonna take Daniel, right, and let's say he goes to a team like FaZe, which I don't think is a bad move. I actually really like the move. That leaves some other teams in NA needing players. So let's say you're going to get rid of Turbo or Atomic. I think either one of those are going to be a really, really good fit on Rogue. You're going to get some more experience. You bring a Turbo Pulsa onto Rogue, you're going to get a veteran presence that can kind of help maybe ease some of the ego on First Killer. Or even Atomic would be a great fit on that team. So one of those players I think should probably swap teams. But if there is discontent between the two of them,
there's something. No, Atomic and First Killer are like really good friends too, by the way, and they play two together growing up.
So that I think is an important note, because I my opinion,
Atomic, First Killer, and Mist.
Well, that is not what I was expecting. I think Rogue, the contract for First Killer is way too high to be bought out. I don't think Rogue's going to let him leave for anything. I think that he's kind of stuck on that Rogue team, depending on what his contract looks like.
Who says First Killer has to go to Envy?
You think Mist leaves? And
But
Atomic?
No, I think someone would have to buy out his contract. He just can't leave Envy, or he can't leave Rogue. Like, he can't straight up leave Rogue.
I think
it also depends where his contract's at right now.
I think the realistic thing would be for Atomic to go to Rogue, and you see a Rogue First Killer
and
the Rogue go team. And then I think when you look at Mist and Turbo, you have a really good base there for a team, and there are some players that could fit in there. Like, there's still guys like Percy, Aqua, Magic Bear. Like, a lot is available in the free agency market that I think could fill into Envy, and that team would still be nasty.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That's pretty
Rogue
good.
Rogue's definitely one of the teams that needs to be making a move. FaZe, in my opinion,
answer
like
your question, Dan.
Yeah.
I think they should make a move.
No, we made it back around there. So now that we've talked Envy's road cleaning house, except for first killer, would be interesting as hell. I agree.
I don't
Now-
think they should do that.
They got to get rid of Turo. Turo's gone. That's just it's in the bag.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that Churro, if they make a move, Churro's the first one gone.
Yeah, I think the most likely option for Rogue is probably, like you said, Atomic or Turbo, whoever dips out of Envy.
They did
I was
that, or they wait
thinking
for
maybe
Daniel?
Daniel, but I don't know if there's enough
would
ball
have to-
for first and Daniel.
I think there is. I think they would have to like go without him. They would have to have the same team for the fall split, and then go into winter getting Daniel, basically, type of thing there, which I think
Yeah.
they're willing to do. Bro, a team of Daniel, first killer, and Taroko.
Yeah, that'd be
You know how
nasty.
crazy a team that is?
The one off-season free agent potential rumor that I personally don't think is going to be happening anymore is Dries. I think Dries is set now. I think if G2 were to change and drop him for anyone, it would be a mistake. I think they have their chart has
disagree.
been trending upwards for a couple months now. Daniel plays
Oh,
defensive and threes.
offense.
Watch the VODs, boys. So,
So that he has the Dries role then.
so
'Cause
maybe
Dries is really
maybe first Taroko and Daniel. There's gonna be a bidding war, that's for
Daniel-
sure.
Daniel is going to be one of the most highly anticipated moves of this offseason, and I don't think it's a move that's going to be made
If-
right away.
If G2
Um,
drops, yeah, but I just want to talk about this G2 thing. If G2 drops anyone for Dries, it would have to either be Mist, Sypico, or Daniel. And the only one I think would be even the likeliest would be Mist.
If G2 drops Dries, you're saying?
Yes.
That would be a massive mistake, in my opinion.
Based on what you're saying, though,
You're
too.
telling me that you wouldn't drop Dries for Mist.
No.
Not the way JNaps in Chicago are playing. Nope.
But Mist does what Dries does, and he's a top 10 player.
I think
Top
Dries has the
five.
potential to be
Then
more
it-
mechanical than. Dries is barely
What we
16.
saw from G2 this past weekend was they took the eventual champions all the way to the last set, to one of the last games. Like, it was an incredible series that G2 really could have won. The potential
Mhm.
for G2 to be amazing with Dries is there. So what's your end goal here, right? If you already think that G2 is going to be amazing with Dries and could potentially be the best team in NA, okay, so you drop Dries to pick up Daniel in hopes that at his best, Daniel can make G2 as good as they are right now, or you just keep Dries and see what you have with him. NRG is another team like that. NRG is playing so well right now with the team that they have and are best
I don't
in
expect
NA.
NRG to make a move. What I'm
no
trying
one-
to say
But
is that,
That's
like,
my
squish-
point, though. Is I think there's three teams maybe in NA, so not including NV or Rogue. I think SSG, NRG, and G2 should not make a move. Their teams are so
Yeah.
good right now that at best you're hoping that you add Daniel and you're as good as you are now.
The games are just marginal at that point.
Right.
And Corrupt, to your point about Mist, I don't know if that would work based on what you were saying, because if Mist leaves, Envy's left with the two players that supposedly don't like each other. So
I would say it would just be a trade type of thing, and then they drop. Oh, you're right. Oh no.
But who does? Yeah, I don't know
If Mist, if
like a
Mist
straight up
leaves, I
trade.
think they keep Atomic, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Because he's Turbo's. No offense, he's a goat. He's a 4-time, but he's an old gamer at this point. He is. He's not getting any younger. And all these kids are coming out at 15, able to double reset with their eyes closed while they're doing a handstand. So, Turbo's
Yep.
fantastic, but there's only so long he's gonna be able to hang around.
I can't wait for Roster Mania.
I know.
Starts
There's
tomorrow.
one more team that I
know.
wanted to just touch on real quick before we get wrapped up. We haven't really touched on them at all tonight. It is a team that definitely should have performed way better over in EU, but that is Dignitas. We saw apparently Jack and Jorius in that
yeah.
2v2 show match going
Yep.
wild. Wild. They were
Yeah.
popping off.
They're an
So what
interesting team.
What about
Go ahead.
what about Archie, Jack, Jorius?
So
They're
you're
both
pretty
British,
set
aren't
on
they?
this Archie leaving.
I think Archie's moving.
top
That's what I'm
books.
saying. That's what I'm
I
saying.
think
don't know if
Archie
Archie's
is
moving, bro.
leaving.
I don't think
That'd be
Archie's
interesting.
moving. The only way I think if anything, top blokes are gonna get someone to help Archie instead of Archie leaving.
I agree with that, but it's definitely possible for him to leave. I mean, that's the downside to them not having an org and choosing to be, top blokes the org, is that
Well, yeah, I mean, so
he
if
kind of has the freedom
Top
to go
Blokes goes out
wherever he
and
wants.
gets an astral quality player, then yeah, Archie's going to consider staying. But they're going to have to bring in someone that is genuinely going to have to, no doubt, make them leaps and bounds better than they were last year. If you're Archie, I mean, you've got Top Chokes is going to follow them around forever. I'm sorry, but it just is at this point. It's the way of the internet. You get a name, it's sticking.
By the way,
And-
a lot of people don't know really. You go, and then I'll explain.
No,
after.
I was just rambling. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So how the top blokes like sponsorship works is that they're like sponsored as top blokes, but they're paid a salary type of thing there. But we don't know specifically the company, I think, that's like sponsoring them.
Right.
The company that's
Yeah,
sponsoring
they're
them
not
does
under an
get that.
official org or anything. It's
Yeah, basically. They're just known as top blokes, but
so
yeah,
that's the
they
thing. If a team like Dignitas, with all their resources and money, comes along and says, "Hey, you want to come play with these two phenomenal players? We're gonna give you a lot of money, more than you're making now, and you're gonna have facilities, resources, training staff, all the stuff that comes with signing with an org, including the stability. If that company who's behind Top Blokes ever pulls their money out, Archie, Flame, and Cassie are
So what
just
happens to Violet Panda?
He maybe bench. I don't know, but have you heard their comms? There's
What
no
happens to
way.
Violet Panda.
I mean, Violet Panda's at that age now where I could see
He's kind
him,
of turbo age.
Yeah, he's getting to that age where I could see him, like, if this doesn't work out, if they choose to move on from Violent Panda, which is probably the logical move, if you're gonna make a move on Dignitas, I could see Violent Panda deciding to step away from Rocket League in the sense of as a player. Violent Panda is someone who has done a phenomenal job throughout his career developing younger players into beasts. And so I would love to see Violent Panda take on a coaching role with somebody like, let's say, Aether, Galaxy Racer, BS Plus, one of those younger teams.
Aether has
that
a
could-
coach.
Yeah,
What
but
if?
you know
What about staying on in the
saying.
sub role? He knows the
Um,
team already. He's familiar with it. He could
if
give
he
that
would be willing
mentorship.
to. I just could see him. My point is, I could see him eventually making the move into a coaching role. But yeah, I think that Dignitas at this point probably is gonna make a move and needs to make a move. I don't know who you go for. There are
Yeah.
some good players that'll be available. There's Virtuoso who should be available. An interesting person if he is available. I think they're staying together, Relating Wave and Metanaris, but Relating Wave would be a great player, I think, for Dignitas to take a look into if they could steal him away. Bluey is a player that's going to be available who has had his issues, but he's definitely a talented player that might be around.
He's a bit of a scrub from what I've heard, right? Kind of a really good mechanical, but maybe not the locker room guy you want.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of an ego to him, but I think he's sort of gotten better, but I'm not entirely sure. I think he just hasn't found the right situation yet.
The other thing to keep in mind is a lot of these kids aren't even 18 yet.
Yeah.
Like, we're asking them to make these adult decisions that we're struggling with to talk about with each other, and they've got to make these decisions on their own that are going to affect the next 5-10 years of their life. So there's going to be times where they react poorly, or you look at Reddles over in NA. He just talks and talks and talks, and every once in a while he crosses the line, but he'll tweet about it and he'll be like, sorry, I went too far, my bad. And then the next tournament he's talking again. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, you got to learn when you cross that line, and that's kind of part of the process along the way.
And acknowledging it, and then just learning from it. Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
And
well, it's definitely
that, like, we haven't talked about Shopify.
Yeah, they're a team that definitely should. I don't want to say they definitely should make a move. They're an interesting squad. They have potential. I kind of feel like they hit their ceiling throughout the year. I think we saw what the max of that team is going to do. I don't know what move they could make that's really going to make them better unless they kind of land the Daniel. They're
I
a
was going to
team
say,
that,
what about Rapid Beast Mode Daniel? Now that I know
Right,
Daniel
so-
can play defensive in threes, that kind of frees that up. I was thinking you'd have to get rid of Beast Mode, but Beast Mode's kind of that's his team, or sorry, Rapid, and it's kind of Rapid's team. You're not getting rid of Beast Mode because he's the dude on that team. So I was thinking it'd be Memory to hold down the back line, but if Daniel can play defensive and you can let Rapid and Beast Mode kind of run free with Daniel as your third man, whew.
Yeah, well, I think next week when we tune back into this podcast, we're gonna have to look at we'll know a little bit more about who's actually available, and at that point,
Yeah.
I think we could talk about who
Yes,
the
sir.
top free agents are, and then talk more about what moves we want to see. I assume, there are gonna be some moves that happen quickly. I think some of the bigger orgs though, it's gonna take some time. So we're gonna have to filter through the rumor mill, see who's rumored to be in, who's rumored to be out, see who's trying out where, because this is gonna be a long offseason. And
Well,
they
the other
already
thing that's
know
going to
now-
play into it. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, and they already know now that this is a really long season. So these moves, I think, are gonna take a little bit longer than normal to plan out because they're gonna want to make sure that it's the right move, so that when you start the season, you have some time to see if it gels.
Especially with IWO here in a few weeks. I honestly
Yeah.
expect a lot of Roster Mania to kick off after the IWO closed qualifiers at the end of the month. I think the guys that are playing in that are going to be possibly changing teams in Roster Mania are probably a little bit focused on that closed qualifier to make sure they get in. So I think July is going to be crazy. But so I also want to talk about I do want to talk about IWO next week a little bit as well as these Roster Mania updates. Any last words from you guys before we hit the road?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. We did a lot of the recap, hit our top tens. You know, I think this was a good first pod for me to be on. I hope you guys enjoyed having me here.
Definitely. We're gonna have hopefully get Dano
I
back
don't really
next
have
week
anything
as
really to
well.
hit on besides that. Chicago, Gary G first kill team is absolutely nasty.
Yeah,
And just to think about a team like that is like an actual team is just insane to think about.
yeah.
But
And then we're gonna find out, since we've got him in the chat. Before we go, there's one question from today that has not been answered. Dan, was the tattoo real? We gotta know.
He's
Be
still
honest.
in the chat.
If you were, he definitely is. He definitely is. Come on. We'll give him a minute.
he said
All right.
no.
The
Yeah,
tattoo is not
I would have.
real.
Those would have
And
been
on
some
that bombshell,
big brass balls if you did that one. But all right, so we don't get to mock Dan forever for the pre-tattoo, but you know what? We're all probably gonna make some poor takes next week, so we're gonna be back next Sunday, 8:30 again. And if
Yeah.
sometimes we're gonna tweet some things about Rocket League throughout the week, anything that we find exciting. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw our Twitter in the chat real quick. Yeah, first killer at 4. Put some respect on the general. I'm gonna put our Discord in there too. But yeah, hey everyone, I appreciate y'all coming out, hanging out with us for a little bit while we talk about cardball. Let's do it again next week. Have a good night, everyone. Peace.